Alright, so we made it. We made it to the Shulchan Aruch. So real quick, Shulchan Aruch, written by Rabbi Yosef Yosef ben Ephraim Karo. He was born in 1488, and he was nifter, it looks like 1575. He was a Sephardi rabbi. He also wrote, as we saw, he wrote the Beis Yosef, which is his commentary on the Torah. He wrote the Shulchan Aruch, and he wrote the Kesef Mishnah. We saw his commentary on the Rabbah. And today we're actually going to see the Shulchan Aruch, and we're going to see a little bit, we're going to compare a little bit of his commentary that he wrote on the Torah and how that really comes into creating the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch, what you're going to see is, so this is kind of the format, and this is called a siman. So these are the different sections. So this is one section of halakha. So what it means is, so Reish Yud Ches, the gematria, so this would be siman 218. So this is the numbering system. We're going to use red. So this is the numbering system. But what we're going to see is, already like he adopted the Torah structure and the numbering system. So he adopted the four different divisions. So Orach Chaim, Yoredeah, Even Ezer, and Choshen HaMishpat. So we're in Orach Chaim, which means the path of life. So this is everything we do on a daily basis, or then also deals with the Moedim, the holidays, or what we do on a weekly basis, or a monthly basis, or all year. But it's mainly a lot of the halakhas of the day. So it's like, the Birkas HaShachar, the blessings of the morning, putting on like talis and tefillin, and tzitzi, dealing with like the davening, like Shachris, Mincha, Mari, and then it talks about Musaf, and then it goes into all the holidays. So that's basically Orach Chaim, the path of the day, the path of life. It's the path of life, which is very interesting. So he adopts the Torah system. So here, this is a siman. So this is called a siman, and this is the main chapter divisions for the different halakhas. So here it's like, right, so it's 218, siman 218, and then it's Birkas and Na'asim Bo. The Nasim Nisim. I think I forgot to write. Let me see. Hanasim Al Hanisim. Sorry. Hanasim Al Hanisim. I forgot to write that. So it's here. Let me get that up here. So this is the main section heading. Let's talk about what that means. Hanasim Al Hanisim. I think it's slightly different. I think the Torah called it, let me look up real quick what the Torah called it. We call it something a little different. And we go through what this means. Okay. Let me see if I can find the Torah real quick. So the Torah he called this section, let's see. So this is the Torah. So the Torah, right, you'll see it's the same numbering system. So it's siman, reish, yud, ches. He calls the whole section, he calls Hilkos Birkas HaRe'iyah, the laws of the brachas of vision. And then this is the first siman in there. Now he calls this section, the Torah calls it Birkas Hanes V'Haroah, that the blessing on a miracle and the person sees it. And then he calls it Ishto Shalot, so that's all the halakhas in the Torah. Rabbi Karo, he calls it, I don't know, interesting, he calls it something slightly different. So he calls it the blessings, the birkos, the blessings. Let me try to get that a little clearer. The blessings that are done on miracles. Interesting, so he just gives it a different chapter heading. Blessings done on miracles. And then what this is here at Uvo and coming is Tes Seifim. So then all the halakhas are called sifs. So then coming is 9 seifim, like 9 sifs. And that means there's 9 halakhas in this chapter. So he lets us know how many halakhas are in each chapter, in each siman. And now this is Aleph, so now this is going to be the first halakha. So the difference is the Torah was like one long commentary, and what Rabbi Karo is going to do in the Shulchan Aruch is he's going to kind of divide up a lot of what the Torah is saying, and he's going to kind of cut it up, and then make like a Pesach halakha, make a specific halakha on the first part, what the Torah said, halakha on the second part. So he's going to go through the Torah, and he's going to pull out little halakha. And he's just going to break up the Torah into halakha. So here's right, halakha aleph. So haroah, so the person that sees, and it should all sound familiar now because we've been through this like so many times since the Mishnah. We've seen it through Rashi, Tosfos, all the Rishonim. So the person who sees the place that was done, like done in it. It was done in it. So miracles were done in it. And this is important. We talked about this before. But miracles are done for the Jewish people. So this is not, so we're not going to, and we talked about, last Erev Shabbos, we talked about, really, there are no major miracles in world history that were really done for other nations. And really, like, only the major miracles were really only done for the Jewish people. And this is only making a blessing on the great miracles done for the Jewish people. I mean, maybe there were miracles done in a hidden way, but the greatest revealed miracles, there's really no other nation that has all these miracles. Now he's going to really follow the Torah here, and he's going to do something. So he's going to say, for example, and he's going to go through all the different miracles that were listed in the Brisa in our Gemara, right? So he's going to talk about, right, the crossing, the place, if we see the place where it was the crossing of the Red Sea, where the Red Sea split miraculously. The crossing of, I think I left out, I left out the Jordan River. The crossing the Jordan River, the crossing of the canyons of Arnon, where they miraculously came together. The Emorim were waiting there to ambush the Jewish people, and the canyons kind of closed in on each other, and they killed the people that were trying to ambush the Jewish people. The stones of Al-Gabish, this is the miraculous hail. We talked about this before. This is the plague in Egypt called the Barad, and it was hail and it had ice and fire miraculously together. So this is called the Avnei El-Gabish. So one third of it, the Midrash says, was used in Egypt. 1/3 of it was in this battle of Beis Charon in the days of Joshua, the days of Yeshua ben Nun, and then another third of it is saved for the war of Gog and Magog in the days of Mashiach. So that will be in the future. We'll see the final third of this miraculous hail. Then the stone that Og, the king of the Bashan, that he wanted to throw. He wanted to throw this huge stone on the Jewish people, on Israel. And then, the Midrash, and they go to tell us that, the ants, they ate through the top of the stone, and made a circle in the stone fell on Og's head, and then I think Hashem made Og's teeth grow real long, and then his teeth were stuck on the stone, and he couldn't throw the stone. So we've seen this before, so I'm not going to go too much into each miracle. The stone that Moses sat upon when we were fighting the war against Amalek. So this is at the time of the war against Amalek. And we talked about this before, that when Moshe held up his hands, he reminded the Jewish people that Hashem was fighting the war with us, and then we were victorious. And we knew we were attached to Hashem, and then when Moshe would lower his hands, we sank more back into the physical world. It was just more of the physical world, in the teva, like military strategy, combat, and then we started losing the war. So when we realized that we were attached to Hashem, then it gives us miraculous victory. The walls of Jericho, Yericho, in the days of Yeshua ben Nun, that they miraculously sank into the ground. And then he tells us, so it's interesting. So now, so we saw this before. The Torah gave us the whole list from the Brisa. And the Beis Yosef, which is Rabbi Yosef Karo, on the Torah, we learned that he commented that what the Torah was doing is he was taking the entire list from the Brisa. So we haven't really learned into this too much. But the fact that there's this huge list, my feeling on it all is that each it's listing all these miracles because there's a certain aspect about each miracle that's slightly different from the others. And this is kind of like the whole parameter of, in the future, when a major miracle may happen to the Jewish people, to know that it's in that same category. Or one other way of looking at it is this is the entire list of the great miracles that happen, and these are the places that we go and make the Bracha. I don't know. There's so many other miracles listed, in Jewish history, but there's some aspect of this list that probably would help us determine what would qualify as a miracle of this stature. So then what's interesting is, he says, so we make a blessing, and we make the blessing of She'asa Nisim, that Hashem did miracles, right, for our fathers in this place, in this special place. So we see the place where the miracle happened, and then we make the bracha. Now what's really fascinating is we've spent so much discussion on the fact that the Mishnah only said Baruch, and then so many of the Rishonim have gone on to explain that it's not just Baruch, it's Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, and that's a big deal, because like a bracha, according to Rabbi Zera and Rabbi Yehuda in the Yerushalmi, in the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, like they bring a point that's a big deal, that every bracha needs Shem U'Malchus. So it's just interesting that in the Shulchan Aruch, in the halakha itself, I don't know why he didn't just take the extra little amount of ink and say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. He left that out for some reason. That's interesting, but then he's going to clarify here. So now, we saw Erev Shabbos, the massive war against the Ravid. The Ravid said no. The Ravid said there's something special in the bracha of Re'iyah, the blessing of vision, that's different from the rest of the brachas. And if it's a bracha of vision like we have here, you don't use Shem and Malchus. And then everyone else piled on. We saw a whole list of Rishonim that piled on and said, no, we disagree with the Ravid. So here, Rabbi Karo, the Shulchan Aruch, is clearly paskening, like the Rambam, like Tosfos, like everyone else that agrees, with Rambam, and we don't pasken like the Ravid. And then he's going to clarify this at the end. So he's going to say, it says, Bein Bracha. So no matter if it's a blessing, if it's this kind of blessing Re'iyah, this kind of blessing, a blessing of vision, or Bein, or the rest, or rather, if it's this type of blessing, or the rest of the blessings of vision, right? No matter if it's this type of blessing or the blessings of vision, every single, so they, like the rest of the blessings, they all need, all of them are going to mention, right, they're going to mention Hashem's name. They're going to mention Hashem's name, Shem, the name of Hashem, and the kingship of Hashem. So he's paskening here that every bracha, even the bracha Re'iyah, they're all going to have Shem and Malchus. So you see the final paskin, and we kind of got a sense that this is going to happen from the Beis Yosef's commentary on right on the Torah. All right, so let's start. Okay, so I'm not going to write out. So this is the first halakha, and we're going to talk about what the Magen Avraham says. But I don't think we're going to write out the whole Magen Avraham. We have it on our sheet. But let's see the commentary the Magen Avraham has on the Torah. So I don't know if you noticed, but the Taz, the Magen David, he doesn't comment. We may have to flip the page to see the Taz comment. So we'll start out here on this page, and we only have the commentary of Magen Avraham on this page. So the Magen Avraham, he says, Kagon me'abros hayam. So he starts to comment, and he's giving us the Divrei Hamaskil, which he talks about, and he mentions the crossing of the Red Sea, the me'abros hayam. So he says, so the Magen Avraham, he says, Mashma lechora didavka. Now he says something very interesting here. He's saying Mashma l'chor didavka. So he's saying it's exactly, I think what he's saying is it's exactly like this list. So this may be the Brisa, the list of the miracles in the Brisa. This may be the only places where we would go and see these specific miracles and no other, and make the bracha. So he says, Kigon, so Hanach Shenikar Hanes Mitok HaMakom. Like for example, like these that we recognize the miracle Mitok HaMakom, like in this place. Aval below Haki, but it's not exactly so, right? He says, Kigon Saviv Yerushalayim Shinafla Machanes Akera Ein Mark Mivarchin. So he's saying, so this is interesting. So we talked about this the other day. So Chizkiah HaMelech, right? Hezekiah, King Hezekiah. I don't know. I tried to translate him sometimes. Chizkiah HaMelech, right? He was one of the kings of Yehuda, and the mighty Assyrian army was coming, and Sancheirav was their king. And like Hezekiah, like he couldn't do it. He felt they were overpowered. And all he could do was he prayed to Hashem that Hashem would save them, and he went to sleep. It seems crazy, right? It's like maybe you get out of your army, maybe you try something. I don't know, but whatever it was, he felt overwhelmed. He felt in the physical world, the Assyrian army was so much more powerful that there's no way, like in the natural physical in the world, that they could possibly win. Like the only thing they could do is go there and die, basically. Like their army would just be obliterated because they were so outnumbered, such a superior military force that they had no chance. So it's an interesting reaction. But I guess his thinking was like either Hashem's going to save us anyhow, or Hashem's not. So I'd rather just die here in the palace when the Assyrian army comes flooding in than go out there and die out in the battlefield. I don't know his thinking exactly, but it's interesting. So he just davened to Hashem, and goes to bed, right? And then they wake up the next morning, and I think there was like these Mitzurim, those people inflicted with Saras, and I think they were outside the walls because they can't be in the camp, when they're tummy. So they went and they found that the whole Assyrian army had miraculously been defeated. And I think it was something like Hashem. I think there was Midrash that explained that Hashem made like sound, like the Assyrian army heard sounds, like this mighty Jewish army was approaching them, or another army was approaching them, and they were just terrified. They just started like panicking and attacking each other, and like the whole army just got wiped out miraculously. So what the Magen Avraham is saying here, which is interesting, is saying that so if we went to that place where the Assyrian army was miraculously destroyed, we don't make a bracha, because that place is not on this list. So it seems like the halacha of this bracha is only the miracles that are on this list, which is kind of fascinating. So you're saying even that amazing miracle in the days of Chizkiyahu, it's not on the list, and we don't make a bracha. He says, Ki mashigasav Tosafos, like this is what the Tosafos writes, the Mordecai, and the Mordecai writes this, the Mordecai. So Mihu, however, al neis shalo, but on his own miracle, afilu eno nikar metoka makom mivarek. Even if you don't recognize the place that the miracle happened to you, you do have to make a bracha. And that may go back to the interesting thing, right, that was with Chizkiyahu, HaMelech. Like, right, I think the Gemara, takes him to task for not reciting Hallel. Like, how can, Hashem do this amazing miracle for you and all the Jewish people in your days, and you don't go immediately and sing Hallel? How can you not thank Hashem for this amazing miracle? So I think what the Magen Avraham is saying is that if you personally experience it, right, you make a bracha. Sha'asa li nes, Hashem made a nes for me. But he's saying, but it's interesting, he's saying this list seems to be the main list of where we make a bracha. So then he goes on, he says, let's make one halakha base. Okay, so then...
Would that mean that nothing can ever get added to the list?
Okay, so we got to remember, this is not if in the future when miracles are done for us. This, in a sense, is a list of places, of major miracles in Jewish history, where if we go and see that place, we make a bracha. So that's right, this is not the halakha of if miracles happen in the future, what do we do? Right? It's if we see these places, these were major miracles, and they have some great significance of everything that's on this list, that these places require us to make a bracha. But so I think like if a miracle happens for us in the future, like I think we're seeing Hallel, like when we see the Avnei El Gabish, B'ezrat Hashem, and it defeats the army of Gog and Magog. And let's picture what we're really talking about here for a second. Okay, so let's say we're talking about all the armies of the world coming to attack Israel. So we're talking about the massive power of America, perhaps, right? We're talking about all the aircraft carriers, the nuclear submarines. We're talking about all the tanks, all the infantry, the Marines. We're talking about that, the massive force, all the helicopters, all the missiles, Trident missiles, all the artillery, like the massive force of the American army. Not just them. Right? We're talking about that, not just like an army of that. So then we're talking the massive power of the Russian army, the Chinese army, the Indian army, the Iranian army, just every massive army in the world, all of them coming, and then whoever comes with Gog, I don't know. I mean, there are some midrashim say all 70 nations. I don't know who's going to come with Gog. There's a list, right in the Nevuah, in the prophecy of Yechezkel, right in Zechariah. There's a list, like in the first two chapters. I think it's chapter 38, 39 of Yechezkel. It gives a list of nations. So I don't know if it's just those nations or all, but massive armies, and then we see all of a sudden. That whatever's happening, the Jewish army goes out there to stand up, and we're just gonna, we need Hashem's help, and then we just start seeing like these hail with fire inside, and all of a sudden, like here's your stealth fighter jet, bam, it's gone. Here's your missile coming in, bam, the hail hit it, and the hail, just if you picture, just the hail taking out all the massive armies of the world, right? And then so we know it's miraculous. Like, this is Hashem. We've known about this for a long time. So then we sing Hallel. Then as a nation we sing Hallel, right? Then maybe, I don't know. Interestingly enough, I don't know if there's a place of that battlefield. Maybe that does get instituted. It gets added to the list. But I don't think it's like
It's on the list.
Right. Well, no, but this is on the list in the days of Yeshua ben Nun. So this was the battle. The battle in the days of Joshua at Beis Koron. If we go to Beis Koron, but I'm saying, but then there's even like I think the first Gog or the second Gog. I forgot. There could be three Gogs, three wars. But it talks about there's going to be this. I think it's near the Canaries. I think it's the second war. It's going to be near the Canaries. And then the prophecy says there's going to be this whole like memorial set up for like Gog and his army. Like it's weird, but like they're going to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. There's going to be like a big monument that said, here was Gog, here whoever it was, whatever world leader it is. His name, his army came, he was defeated by Hashem, blah blah blah. And here's Gog and his army. Here's his burial, and here's his memorial. And there's going to be a memorial set up. It's interesting. So I don't know, maybe, right? Maybe there will be some kind of bracha instituted at that place, but I don't think we're exactly learning also like what happens if a big miracle happens to us. This is more of like we go to the place where a great miracle happened, and I think it's going to be revealed. Like I think these places are going to be revealed. Like when Eliyahu HaNavi comes back, I think they're going to be marked. I mean, these are going to be. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be like. This was the place, like it will be known, like this was the place where we crossed, the Red Sea. Hashem did a miracle for us there. This was the place in Beis Koron where that happened. This is the stone. This is the stone that it's going to be some massive stone. This is the stone that Og was going to throw. This is the stone that Moshe sat on. I don't know. It's going to be some significance. And then the walls of Jericho. I don't know if they excavate them or what happens, but here are the walls. And Yeshua ben Nun put a curse on anyone that would try to rebuild the city.
I have just a general comment about this thing.
Okay.
These are all defensive situations for Israel. I mean, you had the Red Sea was given to us. Moshe Rabbeinu was fighting whatever was a defensive thing. But Israel's sitting, as I mentioned to you before, is sitting on about 300 hydrogen bombs. Israel right now is not going to take this quote-unquote crap from other people, okay? This is going to be a situation where I think we're moving into a situation where they're not going to sit back and watch themselves getting beat up.
Right.
You're getting beat up all the time. You're defending Hashem's self.
Right.
Hashem sending ice and fire to blow up.
Right,
It's all
right.
defense stuff.
Right.
I don't think Israel's going to sit back this time and say, "You're going to send me a hydrogen bomb. I'm going to wait." No,
Yeah.
no, never.
Right. So that's a good. Okay. So that's a good question. So I think this. Let's say Israel did some kind of major strike. Like Iran's like orchestrating, all these attacks. Like it started on October the 7th.
And the Israel military said, "Let's go finish them."
Right. So Iran is orchestrating all their proxies. You have like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, right? So I think if let's say Israel did some kind of major strike back, let's say in Iran, they took out the nuclear,
Wiped them out.
Wiped them out. So I think even though yes, it's obvious that Hashem, like it was Hashgacha Pratis, and Hashem, made it successful, but yet in the same token, like it's just in the conventional military strength,
You're saying it goes beyond that. It'll go to miracles.
Right. So I'm saying so in that case, let's say Israel is more powerful. Like let's say in the Teva and just normal, all the military, the people that let's say in West Point where they study this, they would say, oh, Israel had superior military strategy and technology, and they won this war. So if everyone agreed that in the natural running of the world, that Israel just was more powerful and better strategy and they won, it's not a miracle. But I was saying the other case...
You're taking it to another level.
I'm saying the other case in the Gog and Magog situation where it's just all the armies of the world and every military school would say, this is impossible. They used to say it's an Ancient Torah. I don't know if this is true or not. They used to say, there was a story, I don't know, some high-ranking military person from West Point. I don't know if it's a true story or not. It was interesting.
American.
Yeah. So they see. He said at West Point, they don't study 67, the 6-Day War, because they said this was just miraculous.
Oh, because it's miraculous.
They said this was not. They said strategic. We can't study this. We can't study this because I don't know if it's a true story now, but it's interesting. It's a great Ancient Torah story. But it's like in the natural running of the world, there's no way Israel wins that, and they don't win it in 6 days. So that's we're not going to study that.
I can swear that my cat said that in the Kremlin they do study it.
Yeah, they could. I mean, look, I can tell you the truth. I think they study it. Why would they not study 67? It's like, but let's say 67. I mean, it's interesting. 67 was it? We say it a lot. It's miraculous.
48 was the same thing.
Right, 48. But 67 was really miraculous. But I don't know. But it's just in the natural running of things. Was it just better military strategy? Like take out the whole Egyptian, Air Force before they take off the ground. Like that's very good strategy. Why wait around? Like what just happened last night. Instead of waiting for the thousands and thousands of missiles from Hezbollah to come, they sent out hundreds of planes, 100 Israeli Air Force planes, and they took out the launchers. So I think in just the natural running of the world, that's good military strategy. So if we went to West Point today, I don't think they would say it's a miracle. They may say if they are religious, they may say God helped you out. But I think they would say that's good military strategy. I don't think they would say that's a miracle. I don't think they would say it's a miracle what happened. All right, we'll take this off and then we'll go to the next one. You ever got this? Okay.
This is the tour?
Shulchan Aruch. No, we did the tour. Yeah, we did the tour by the Erev Shabbos.
Okay, this is the Shulchan Aruch.
Right, so this is that. This is actually, now this is Pesach Halakha, so that's the first Halakha. So the first Halakha is, on all these miracles, he gives the entire list, even though I forgot to write one. He gives the entire list from the Bracha in our Gemara, and he says on all those, and then he clarifies that we paskin like Rambam, we don't paskin like the Raavad, that every single kind of bracha has Shema Malchus. So even this other category, which we're in, called the bracha, the birkas re'iyah, the blessings of vision, because in essence all we're doing is we're seeing a place where the miracle happened. But then Rabbi Karo, he's saying in the Shulchan Aruch, he's saying no, every type of bracha, even a bracha of vision, needs Shema Malchus. So that's it. So he's passing like Rambam. Everything gets Shema Malchus, and that's, there's no difference. Let's see how we're doing.
Where does it say even?
So we'll see if we can get through this, and then we'll take a break. Let's see how long it takes to do this. So now this is Bays. So that, the first one was halakha aleph, this is halakha beis. So now he says, al nes, right? Al nes, shena'asa, on a miracle, shena'asa, that was done. Now this is, now we talked about this before, and this is on likitsas. What if it was done just for part of the Jewish people? Because it's interesting, because the Mishnah actually says it was done for Yisrael, and we talked about this last time. What does Yisrael mean? Does Yisrael mean all of Yisrael? Does it mean the rove, the majority of Yisrael? Or can it just mean a part of Yisrael? So what does Yisrael actually mean? So then he says, Kol Zaman Shalo Na'asa, all the time that it was not done, or is only done lichol. So I'll write this down here. So he says lichol to all the Jewish people, lichol Yisrael, lichol Yisrael, or Ruban, or the majority. And we saw this. So this comes from the Gemara in Chorios, where I was talking about, doesn't you need like 7 out of the 12 tribes? You need 7 out of the 12 Shavatim to be the majority, that then everyone's chayav to do it. So v'afilo, and even na'asa, even if it was done, na'asa l'kitzas, Shavatim, to the tribes, Shavatim. And he finishes and he says, Ein mevarking lav. Then we don't. So it's really, so what Rabbi Karo is doing here, he's passing that the miracle has to happen to all the Jewish people, or at least the majority of the Jewish people. And if it doesn't, then we don't make the bracha. So, for instance, like the crossing of the Red Sea, so that happened to all the Jewish people, so then everyone's chayav to make the bracha. So, ein mevarking alav. Okay. If it's okay, I'm going to take a quick break right now, and then we'll continue. So maybe take a like 5-10 minute break if you guys want. I'll give everybody time to wait a little bit. We'll give her the sheet. Okay.
And now you shook us up.
So I should have recorded that. Well, the best stuff we never record. Okay. See, you got to be here live. You got to be here live if you want to hear the best stories. All right. So we're going to go back second halakha.
That's the way it should be.
Second halakha base in the Shulchan Aruch. So al nes. So on a miracle, right? Shenasa, that was done. Now this is interesting. What if it's only done for part of the Jewish people? What if the miracle was only done for part of the Jewish people? So if it's not all, or if it's not a rove, then what happens? So Rabbi Karo is telling us, he says, all the time, my M's are getting really messy. I gotta take the time to make better M's. Alright, so all the zman, kol zman, all the time, shelo na'asa, that it's not done, right? That it is not done. Shelo na'asa, that is not done. All the time it's not done. Likol, for all Yisrael, for all the Jewish people, or Ruban, or a majority of the Jewish people. So according to Chorios, so this is a rove, majority. So according to the machlokas we saw in Masechta Chorios, right? If the Sanhedrin passed they made a mistake in their ruling, and let's say one tribe did follow the Sanhedrin in the mistaken ruling, then that tribe has to bring a chatas offering. So it seems like from this, the way they're poskening here, the way they posken there, it has to then be that 7 out of the 12 tribes follow the Sanhedrin in the erroneous ruling, and then all the Jewish people now are chayav, all the tribes are now chayav and a chatas. So too with the vision, with the bracha, the vision of the miracle, if a miracle happens for all the Jewish people, like the crossing of the Red Sea, But it does seem like most of the miracles in that list happen to all the Jewish people. But so if a miracle that happens to all the Jewish people, or at least a majority of the Jewish people, then even if it was done, even if it's done, the kitsas for a part of the tribes, so liksas shavatim, if it's done for a part of the tribes, we don't make a bracha on it. So it seems like it has to be at least 7 out of the 12 so everyone would be chayav. So if a miracle was done for at least 7 of the tribes, 7 of the shvatim, so we have a majority of the tribes, then we make a bracha. Then everyone's chayav to make a bracha. If not, we don't. Okay, so let's see what the Magen Avraham says on this. So he says, al nes. He says, mashma, it implies, B'Shabbos, in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Lamed Gimel, page 33 of Masechta Shabbos, Kishna'asa li'adam nes, that when a miracle is done for a person, Yisakein Ezet Sarke Rabbi in Be'ir, and then they will fix that which is the needs of the people, the majority of the people in the city. Okay, so I'm not sure of that case. Okay, so let's just go to the next comment he makes here. So then he says, Liksas Shavatim. He says for a part of the tribes. So he says Hakasha Habach. So we didn't actually see this Bach yesterday. We can go through the Bach if we want. So the Bach, the Bayis Kadash, he says, it's Rabbi Yoel Circus. So he says Decha Yerushalmi, that it says in Yerushalmi in the Jerusalem Talmud, Ka'amor Dilamanda Amor. According to the opinion that says, Kol Shevet Ikre Kachal. So there's 2 opinions. We saw this. There's 2 opinions. There's one opinion that each Shevet is called a Kahal, is called a congregation. So if we go that way, if we go according to that opinion, then if a miracle just happens to one tribe, all of us are chayav because one tribe's called a Kahal, one tribe's called a congregation. But the other opinion is that you need all the tribes. When you have all the tribes, then it's called a kahal. That's the other opinion. And now something needs to happen to all the tribes, or at least 7 of the tribes. So according to this opinion, according to Lamanta Mor, according to the opinion that each separate tribe is called a kahal, then the person's chayav levarek al neis. Then everyone's obligated to make the bracha on seeing the place where a miracle happened to just one. Just al shevet echad, just one tribe. If a miracle happens to just one tribe, let's say a miracle happens to the tribe of Naphtali, according to that one opinion, then since the tribe of Naphtali, since the tribe's called a kakao, then everyone's obligated. But we don't really pass in that way. So this he says, so then the Magen Avraham is telling us, this is the Peluta to Rebbe Meir. So Rebbe Meir has a machlokas, he has a debate, he's an argument with Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon. So the Kevan de Kaimelan. But since that we paskin ke Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon, but we paskin like Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon, and they held not like Rebbe Meir. Rebbe Meir was the one that said each tribe's called a kakao, each tribe's called a congregation. But Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon, no, they hold that all kol Shabbatim. You need all the tribes to be called a kakao, and we paskin like that there. So the Magen Avraham is saying the Kaimalan, it's established for us, meaning that's how we hold the halakha is. Ukesav, and the Rambam writes, and he tells us it's in the 12th chapter of Shigogos. It says, Imkain lama pasakan te'enam mevarek. So here we paskin that we don't make the bracha if it's only one tribe. Okay, let's see if the
is that the halacha?
What's that?
Is that the halacha?
Right. So the halacha is that it has to be. So what Rabbi Karo is saying here in the Shulchan Aruch is a miracle has to happen to all the Jewish people, or a majority, or a road, or
the majority.
All, or at least the majority. So at least 7 out of 12. At least 7 out of 12 tribes. And then
he's challenging.
And then we can make the bracha. Then we can make the bracha on a miracle if we come to the place where we see it.
So the Shulchan Aruch was not passing according to the Rambam.
So, no, so the Rambam also, it seems like the Rambam also poskins like this. That, again, not like Rebbe Meir, but like Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon, and so this is in Masechta Horios, that you need all the Shavatim to be called a kahal, to be a kahal, right?
Or majority.
Or a majority, but they do accept, it seems like they do accept majority. Right? Okay, so that's the second halakha, let's see how we're doing. So let's go to the next halakha. Yeah, questions?
Technical question,
Okay.
yes. He referred to here to, let me find it, Masech Shabbos Daf Lamed Gimel.
Yeah.
When the Magid Avraham wrote, there was already the Vilna Shas with the pagination, with the pages that we know today.
Yeah. So, right, so I haven't looked up, I don't know what the halakha is there in Shabbos, so it wasn't, the Magen Avraham didn't give so much of an explanation, so I have to look
No,
it
he
up.
didn't, but it says in the Magid Avraham.
Yeah.
It says Shabbos Daf Lamed Gimel. I'm just asking, was there such a thing as Daf Lamed Gimel?
Well, this also could be an editor at some point, also putting in. I don't know if like specifically the Magen Avraham put it in or editor, whoever
Okay.
published this. Yeah, so I'm not sure on
So
that.
how do we know what else has been edited?
Right.
The censors, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. All right, so here's the third halakha. So halakha gimel. So kol elu, all of these hadavarim, all of these things. Kol elu davarim einam ella. So it's an ein ella. It means only. So ein ella kisharoa, and this is the concept that we talk about of parakim. Kisharoa. Osam, that you see them, Mishaloshim, so Mish from 30, Mishaloshim, Lishaloshim Yom, Lishaloshim Yom. Okay, so let's see what this is. And that says, Ve'az, Haim, Chova, Kamo, Bipam, Rishonah. So right, that's like the Rambam, and that's not like what the Ravid said. So here, we'll take a look at this here. So, Rishonah. Okay, so that's that halakha there. All right, so let's go through this halakha. So this is the third halakha, and let's break it down. So he says that all of these things, right? All of these things. Now, anybody want to get what is Elu Devarim? So Elu Devarim is these are all the brachas in our Mishnah, right? So Elu Devarim, all these things. So these are the brachas. These are the brachas in our Mishnah, right? So for instance, so in the Mishnah, because why is Rabbi Karo doing this? Because in the Mishnah itself, the only time we see the concept of parakim, of 30 days to 30 days, we talked about this before, is with the Yom HaGadol. If you come to the Mediterranean, it says specifically in the Mishnah that then you have to wait 30 days before you make another bracha on the Mediterranean Sea. But then the Tosafos on the Mishnah, on our Mishnah, says something very interesting. At the end of that Tosafos, he says, no, parakim applies to all these brachas. All the brachas listed in our Mishnah, they have the concept of parakim. And that's one of the reasons why the Ravid was arguing that the bracha re'iyah may not need Shem and Malchus, because it's kind of like a lesser bracha. It's not something established that we're doing every day. Like, like a bracha kavua, like for instance, Birkas HaShachar, like the morning blessings. So the Ravid say, no, maybe that bracha is not at the same stature as the rest of the brachas, and you don't need Shem and Malchus. You don't need to say Shem and Malchus. And the Rambam is like, no, we're not doing that. And the Torah, and everyone else follows, Rambam there.
So he would include then thunder and lightning, you wouldn't?
Okay, so Bezrat Hashem, I want to start maybe tomorrow or the day after, and we're going to start on that, where you go back to the Mishnah, go to the Gemara, go to Rashi and Tosfos. I want to start breaking down those.
Okay.
Because I do believe, like with lightning, we'll have to double check, but I do believe lightning, that's something you could do, I think, like once a day. Like you see a thunderstorm one night, and then there's a thunderstorm the next night. And we talked about this a little bit. So I think one of the reasons could be they're different like the lightning you see one night is not the same lightning you see the next night. Whereas the Mediterranean Sea, you see the Mediterranean, let's say today we were there, we see the Mediterranean, right, it's there today, we go back to Mars, same Mediterranean Sea. So we have to wait 30 days for, to make, but lightning storms, it's different lightning.
The lightning I see now is not the same as lightning I see in 10 minutes.
That's true too, but I think we're going to learn more about it.
Prakim just means duration or frequency then. That there could be different frequencies for different phenomena?
Right, so the reason of the prakim we're going to have to learn more about. Like, it's something about if you come to the place where you see, the miracle happen of the Red Sea. Now remember, we don't actually see the miracle itself. It didn't actually happen to us.
Right.
We see the place where it happened. So there's something about that really to have another... to have the chiyuv again to make the bracha, we really should wait 30 days. I think it's something that has to be after 30 days, then it becomes very important again. Because we don't want it to be like, for something about this, we don't want it to be routine. We don't want it to be like, oh, ho hum, here I go again, make the bracha on, the place where there's just something special about it because it's seeing the place. Right, so then it's an ein ella. So for all these things, we only like the person that sees them, right? The person that sees them, and only mishloshim from 30 days to 30 days. So you have to wait on all these brachas. You have to wait 30 days, and then the az, and then haim, then they are a chova. They're an obligation. There's a chiyuv. They're an obligation, like bipam rishona, like the first time. So after 30 days on all these brachas, then we have the obligation to do it again. We have to make the chiyuv again. So the Ravid said not like that. The Ravid said it's only a chova the very first time, and then from then on into the future, it's only reshus. But Rambam disagreed. Everyone else disagrees with that. All right, let me put up the next. Let's go through the next halakha. Let me see if I have enough room to get it up here. Okay, so then the next halakha is Daled. And helping room. So he says Haroa Makom She Ne'asa Nes Liyachid Eino Mevarech Aval, but who he Atzmo Mevarech, and then he's going to give us the bracha She'asa Li Nes Be Makom Hazeh. And we'll break this down. Okay. And then he's going to give us the reason, which is interesting. He's going to say that Kol Yotze Yerecho Gam Kain, so also Mevarkin, we'll make a blessing. Mevarkin, we'll make this blessing. She'asa Nes Le'avi B'makom Hazeh. B'makom Hazeh. All right, let's see what this means. Okay, so Right, I think we saw this for the first time in the Rif. The Rif brought in this idea, and then we were informed that the idea was originally brought by Rav Chaigon. This idea of like, what happens if a nace happens to a yachid? It seemed like from the Gemara that if a miracle just happened for one person, then everyone else is not obligated, but the person himself is obligated. So the person who sees, the place that a miracle was done for like one person, for an individual, he does not, so no one else makes the bracha, he does not make a blessing. But who, the person that the miracle was done for, but he himself, the person that Hashem did a miracle for, he himself will make a blessing, and he'll make this blessing. He'll say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, she'asa li, that Hashem made, he did for me a miracle in this place. He did a miracle for me in this place. He did a miracle for me in this place. And it says, and also, so then the whole, and then everybody that came out from his thigh, meaning all of his like children, all of his descendants, so like who wouldn't have been born if the miracle hadn't been done for him. So all his descendants, like they also have an obligation to thank Hashem. That so they also will bless, all of his descendants will bless, and they'll say she'asa nes, that Hashem did a nes, a miracle for my father in this place. Okay. So then, any questions on any of that? Okay. So,
in a nutshell, what does it say about lightning, for example?
okay, so I hope to learn that next. Lightning, I think, is going to be a little different, but we're going to have to understand.
What example are you giving?
According to this, it seems like every one of those brachas in our Mishnah would have the 30-day. You'd have to wait 30 days. I think.
Every blessing.
I think.
Give me an example.
I think for some reason, like lightning is going to be an exception.
Seeing where the sea was.
One blessing.
Okay, so like seeing the Mediterranean Sea. Like we make a blessing.
You cannot make a blessing again for 30 days.
You have to wait 30 days. Seeing a place where the miracle happened, like crossing the Red Sea. One of the other ones was, now a special one's going to be seeing the pillar of salt of Lot's wife. That's going to be a special one, special category itself. I think lightning, comets, earthquakes, all those categories, I think they're going to be different for some reason. Because just halakha l'maisa, like hein no chagim, like as we were mincha, as we were accustomed to do. I mean, I don't remember someone saying you have to wait 30 days, to the next lightning storm. So I think that one's going to be different. So from here, it seems like it wouldn't be different, because he says, kol elu dvarim, all the brachas in the Mishnah. But I want to start learning next about lightning, thunder, and that bracha, and I think we'll learn more into
Brachas of the Mishnah includes, I guess.
Here do we have the?
You have the list, right?
Here we have the Gemara here. Let's see if we can find it real quick. So let's see. So I think this is our Gemara.
It was 54a.
54a. Yeah. So let's say. So here it says. So the first bracha is seeing a place where a miracle was done. The second bracha was seeing a place where avodah zarah, idolatry, had been uprooted. The next one was what I want to learn next is zikin, like seeing comets, meteors, earthquakes, thunder, winds, or lightning. And then we say the bracha of shekoko gevuraso malei olam. Now what's interesting about like that is I know personally from what we do is on thunder we say shekoko gevuraso malei olam, but on lightning we say she'osa maisa bereitzis. So we're gonna have to see. I want to start learning that next one, that next bracha. Then there's a different bracha on seeing mountains, hills, seas, rivers, deserts. Then Rabbi Yehuda, he makes a special case for seeing the Yam Hagadol, for seeing the Mediterranean Sea. And he adds, and Rabbi Yehuda adds, there's a concept of parakim. There's a concept of seeing it at intervals. But Tosafos says that that's on everything. So then after that, it goes on to the rains and good things that happen. You make a tovu metiv. When something bad that happens, you make a dayan emes. Building a new house, there's a bracha on that. Okay, so there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot we haven't been through. There's a lot of brachas. Yeah.
Oh, so when you talk about the Mishnah,
Yeah.
you're only talking about one item, right? You're not talking about anything to do with lightning or thunder or earthquake.
Right. So we're gonna have to see. So I want to start learning
You're
about the
limiting
thunder and the lightning. Yeah. So I want to start learning about the thunder and lightning next, and then we'll go into that.
No, but you're limiting that Mishnah for the bracha, right?
Right. Right. But it may not be the case for all of them. So we'll have to see.
So,
Yeah.
Va'az hem chova kamo pam rishonah.
Yeah.
Did we see that in any earlier commentaries? Or
Right,
is
so
that a
we saw
finish?
this. We saw this Erev Shabbos. We saw it in the Torah and the Beis Yosef.
Okay.
So right, the whole machlok is the Ravid versus the Rambam. Right, the Ravid was bringing that it's like the first time you see it's a kovai, after that's a rishus, and the Ravid was saying that it's something that's only every 30 days. You don't have to use Shem and Malchus. So we saw this whole right. So it's coming from that machlok.
So the Shulchan Aruch has no chidushim here?
No, there's no there. There's no
Is that
chedushim.
kind of general rule of the Shulchan Aruch?
Yeah, because if you think about it, he's called the Mechaber,
Right.
and the Mechaber is bringing things together. It's really we usually translate it as author,
Right.
but it's really more of like editor in a way.
Yeah.
Like in a way, Rebbe Yehuda Nasi, we talked about this before. Really, he's like an editor too. Like he takes all the notes. He takes the notes of Rebbe Meir, Rebbe Yehuda, Rebbe Akiva, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. He takes all their notes and then brings them together as the Mishnah. And that's what Rabbi Yosef Karo is doing here in the Shulchan Aruch. The whole journey we've been on, from the Mishnah, the Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos, into the Rif and the Rabbeinu Yonah, into the Rosh, into the Rambam and the Kesef Mishnah and all the commentary, and then into the Torah, the Beis Yosef and the Bach. It's led us here. And all the Rishonim he's gathering together. I'm sorry.
Has anybody else ever compiled an updated version? I know Mishnah Berurah is a commentary on Shulchan Aruch.
Right, so Mishnah Berurah is a commentary, I think, on just Orach Chaim.
Right.
And and then there's something. I think one of the Lubavitch rabbis, they've done Shulchan Arav.
Yeah.
Now then you have I haven't studied it in depth, but I think like Rabbi Yosef put out a very
Yosef.
serious compilation of like Sephardi halakha also, right? Like the Labia Yom. He's put out a couple, like it's just a tremendous amount of these.
I think Rabbi Silver is starting to give a shear on that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. No, and the Ben Ish Chai put together some interesting halakha. There's the Ben Adai. There's so many, but this
comprehensive.
Now what's even more is the Rambam, is the Mishnah Torah, the Yachazaka. He paskins in all 6 Siddharim in the Mishnayos, all 6 orders of the Mishnah, which is the Rambam. I mean, that's incredible.
Is he the only one?
So he may be the only one. So I believe because of what he did for the Taimani Jews, for the Jews in Yemen, they were so appreciative. I think like they only will follow the halakhas paskin by the Rambam. Like they only follow that halakha. That's like their minhag. Okay, so if it's okay, so thanks for today. We're gonna wrap it up today, and then B'ezras Hashem, maybe tomorrow. I think we start on lightning, thunder, earthquakes. All the amazing natural phenomena, and we'll start going into that halakha. We'll take our second journey. Okay. Right. So I do think like.